intro button. Whoever shows
That's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this special episode of the Degen Roundtable. We are covering the Art of War, or Degen Roundtable Book Club. I guess I should clarify. This is episode number 73 of the Degen Roundtable Book Club series. We've gone through quite a few books, broski. We're covering the Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is probably one of our oldest books, freaking 2,500 years old. I think it was published in 500 BC. So like, this is a super old book, and it's got some great, crazy, easy principles in it. So we're going to cover all that. For those of you guys who have never seen me before, hello, my name is Will. I'm a tower climber, and I travel around the States building towers, and I talk crypto and things to assholes and degenerates, such as yourself. I'm joined tonight by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Zenith. Zenith is the government and legal analyst and the creator of Book Club for the Degen Roundtable, I might add. He was the one that brought this all together, that has turned it into the monster that it is. Broski, how are you doing? What's new and exciting with you, man?
I am doing very well. Just ended the fiscal year, so doing all that fun day job stuff, but outside of that, trying to squeeze in some golf where we can. And then, yeah, still doing book club and just having an absolute blast with it. I do believe that this is the oldest book that we're going to be talking about. Because we covered Musashi's the Five Rings, the Book of Five Rings, and I was like, oh, that also sounds, I think it's an ancient philosophy thing. Nope, that was from like the 1630s.
I'm looking up The Richest Man in Babylon, and it was written in the 1920s, but I can't remember when the clay tablets were from, like what year Babylon had all that stuff in, because I just realized that might be a little bit older. When were... If
you want to cite the Babylonian Empire, I want to say they were before the Bronze Age collapse, which happened pre-1200 BC.
What are the clay tablets? Oh, come on. Oh, it's official. Fictional documents within the book's narrative. Wow. Did base the parables on principles they found in real historian Babylonian history and finance. Oh, wow. They didn't actually have the clay tablets. Wow. They're not real. Holy smokes. Unless AI is lying to me, I'm living a lie. Oh, man, that's crazy. What a crock of shit. Damn, you guys, we're finding it out real live on stream that The Richest Man in Babylon written on clay tablets is all a bunch of lies. It's not a bunch of lies. It's great storytelling.
It's very good. And the lessons are excellent as well.
Yeah, and they did use the clay tablets, so it's like it's not like a crazy far-fetched idea to be like, oh, here's some... It's basically like, I'm imagining some aliens 4,000 years from now finding like a handful of Walmart receipts and being like, you know what, we can tell some pretty fucking cool stories about these guys. And it's like, that's basically what it is. So anyways, welcome to Book Club, everybody. For those of you guys who have never watched before, the Degen Roundtable Book Club is, we read books and we talk about it. And it's myself and Zenith. We used to have a larger crew, but they've moved on to finer fields, and so we're the last men standing. And one of the things about being the last men standing is that you have to be ready for war, because difficult things are going to come, and that's what this book is all about, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Now, before we get into the summary of what the book is all about, it's time to do one of the best parts of the show, and I need to actually turn off my blurry background so that way. Oh shoot, how do I turn off the blurry background? Dang it, visual effects, none. Haha. Now you guys get to see
There
how
you go.
dirty and unclean my camper is. But it's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts, the part of the show where we shout out all you wonderful ladies and germs at home who are so kind enough as to join us on this fantastic journey. We appreciate each and every one of you. And now I got to turn my my blurring back on because it's no longer time to hold up the paper. We're joined first and foremost by Mr. Funkmaster Hex. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, good evening," along with his drink that he holds up. Mr. Funkmaster Hex has always got a drink, and I got to get a drink too. To cheers, Mr. Funkmaster Hex, because you just don't go about having cheerses on stream without cheersing them right back. So I'm going to be drinking some delicious water from this Snap-on cup. This stream is not brought to you by Snap-on, but they are some pretty cool and expensive tool guys. So shout out to you, Mr. Funkmaster Hex. For those of you guys who don't know, Funkmaster Hex is the Trailer Park Boys Julian of Hexico and Pulse Chain. He's always got the glass. He's always ready to rock and roll. I've been seeing him in the telegrams as long as I can remember being in Hexico. So, homie, you're one of the, as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the OGs of the space. So always good to see you, Mr. Funkmaster Hex. Thank you for hopping on. He posted this too 4 hours ago. So he was ready, rocking and rolling when Zenith made this stream and pushed it out earlier today. By the way, thank you, Zenith, for setting up this StreamYard. I was not ready, so I'm glad that you were able to do it. So he reminds everyone, by the way, to hit the damned like button. So an excellent point. Hit the like button, guys. Make sure that you smash that like and do all that good stuff. We're also joined by my good buddy, Mr. Slide 180. Shout out to Slide 180, my good friend Josh. I'm going to come see you tomorrow, bro. I'm going to mosey my way on down there. So we're going to hang out. We're going to have some fun. And I'm going to be cheersing you when we are in person. Got some Oktoberfest stuff going on. We're also joined by Mr. Moon-Pilled Rational Optics, who said that Sun Tzu once said, "Never leave an encouraging comment unwritten and a like button unpressed." So I agree. Moon-Pilled Rational Optics is dead on the spot right there. That's super awesome, broski. Love to see it. Love to see it. And welcome to the show as well, by the way. Moon-Pilled Rational Optics, a good real life friend of mine and a purveyor and connoisseur of fine books. Mr. Moon-Pilled Rational Optics is like, aside from myself and Zenith, he's probably made the most book club suggestions and behind the scenes decision making and inspiration for most of, like, at least half of the books that we've done on book
That's
club.
true. That's definitely true.
Yep. Shout out to Moon. We've also got joining us tonight Miss Amber Simon. Miss Amber Simon says, "Hello, happy to be doing this book club with y'all tonight. I bought it a few months ago at a used bookstore here in East Texas. Glad to hear. Glad you could join us. Excellent. It's an excellent read. I
also have my nice fancy coffee. I think it cost me a whole $12 on Amazon. I got the gold leaf thing going on here or whatever.
Is it signed by Sun Tzu himself? That's pretty cool.
Not yet. We got to find a way to do that.
Excellent.
Either that or hear me out. How dope would it be to try to get this signed by Pete Hegseth, the new secretary for the Department of War?
Oh, I was like, Pete.
I think it'd be cool.
I remember that name. I know that name from somewhere. Department of War. That's good. I like that they're moving away from the whole Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Truth. And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna call it what it is. You know, so instead of calling him the press secretary, I think they should call them the propagandist. And like the, oh man, there's so many other cool things, but at least they made one cool change. So
let me
that thing that Trump did, where he's like, the Chicago's about to find out about the Department of War or something with all the inner city violence. Go ahead. What was your comment you had?
To give you the 40K reference here, the Sisters of Battle have someone pretty similar to this. I believe it is their dogmata or their dialogus. Pretty much, it's just these like crazy looking people with just like a giant speaker in the middle of a battlefield. Let me see if I can pull this up.
I'm looking it up right now. Sisters of Battle, Warhammer 4K, an elite sisterhood of warriors. What's it called? The
That
dogma?
is the dialogus, and the dogmata is something similar. One of them has a really old model, but I can't find it.
Huh.
But this this is the dogmata. Pretty much just there with a giant bonk stick there to
Oh man.
spread the good word of the God Emperor of mankind.
Wow. Well, good for them.
Anyways.
I did not know that there was female factions inside Warhammer. That's pretty cool.
Yep,
Man,
pretty much just imagine
really
as like it's like the evil Catholic Church that is there to pretty much just get rid of all the heretics, even though they call many people heretics.
Yeah. That is that's the because there's basically everyone's a heretic in and it's like super easy to go from regular person to heretic, and there is no there is no coming back or second guessing or anything.
Right,
But
not with the heavy flamer, anyways.
man, we really got to do a Warhammer stream. One of these Whiskey Wednesdays, bro. We got to do a Warhammer stream because I
All
love
right, we'll
the
do that.
like
We'll do
lore
that.
of it. I only just recently learned that orcs are actually just mushrooms, and they just grow everywhere. It's like, and that like their equipment only works because they believe that it works, and so like the more orcs that you have believing in something, the stronger it gets. It's like, what? Red paint makes this car go faster, and because they believe it, it does. It's like that's so cool. But it's
Yeah,
like
the only
it's like
reason their tech works is because they think it does.
yeah, like a retard
Like
magic.
that's pretty much it. I mean, not to get like too down the rabbit hole on it, but when people often ask like, what is the faction in Warhammer 40k that is like the most magical or like has the most warp powers? And people were like, "Oh, it's got to be like the Thousand Suns because they worship Zinch, like the spell chaos god." And it's like, no, it's actually orcs because their belief is the magic, and that's what makes stuff work.
Yep, but it's just like it just does. They're not smart. It's just like literal green retard mushroom power, and you paint it faster, you put checkered stripes on it, you just scream, "Wah!" And then that it makes it happen. But
Right, give it to wah.
Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, though, we do have some more chats that we got
Sorry,
shout out here. We're joined by Tam Tam, Pulse Chain and Hexco's favorite cheerleader. Good to see you, Tam Tam, who says, "Hello, my lovelies." Hello to you too, Tam Tam. Glad we can have you with book club. It's an educational Friday. It's gonna be a long Friday of streaming for me. As soon as I'm done here with book club, I was telling you in the green room, but I got to go over to the effing hangout. So I'm hosting the effing hangout. If you guys want to come hear me talk about silly things happening in Hexico, then that's what's going to be happening as soon as the DGen Roundtable book club stream is over. But it's good to see you, Tam. Welcome to the stream. We also got our good veteran buddy, Mr. Hexkin, Lost in Asia. The Art of War, fighting without fighting. Yes, one of the most interesting things in this book is that it like the best fighting is done without actually fighting. The best fighting is done without killing people. You can have the best results by conquering a nation without having to kill anybody. And I think that we're kind of seeing that a lot in today's world. Like a lot of the kinetic war stuff is stuff of the past. Now it's about shaping people's minds, shaping people's beliefs, and getting them to question the place that they're in and switch over to your team. So that way you can become a nice little factory worker over there somewhere else, like instead of in the country you're in right now, you can go be a producer somewhere else. If the country kills all the people that are producing, and it's like, shoot, now we got to have more babies and start from scratch, and all these people don't know the infrastructure, yada yada yada. But if you can win them over to your side with cool TikToks and bikini babes and funny memes of cats, then hey, then you've got people that are going to produce for you instead. So you're absolutely right, bro. Fighting without fighting. I love it. We're also joined by Arceus. Arceus says, Sun Tzu says employ deception. So maybe it should be the Department of Fluffy Bunnies. I agree. The Department of Fluffy Bunnies. I don't think the cat might be out of the bag, Arceus. I think that they already know that this department is used for war. But, all warfare is based on deception, as they say in the intro to Modern Warfare 3. I think it might actually be Captain Price who says
that
it.
is Captain Price.
It is Captain Price? Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. I knew that quote long before I ever knew that the Art of War was a book or any of that stuff. I was just playing that game all throughout the Marine Corps. Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got my buddy Josh. Do a Warhammer stream one day. Excellent. If you're a Warhammer fan, Like, I love the lore, and I don't know anything about it. I know nothing of the game, how it works. I know that people paint figurines. I know that Zenith has a bunch of figurines. I've looked at a whole bunch. Like, I went to like those cool little like comic stores and seen all the different displays and everything. And it's so chock a block full of story that it's like you can get lost in it and never ever ever like see the light of day again. It's not like you read Green Eggs and Ham from start to finish and it's done. In Warhammer, it's like I remember like the intro to Warhammer was like a 30-hour long YouTube video, and I was just like, holy smokes, this is absolutely ridiculous. So lots of cool stuff that happens in the Grimdark. But there you guys go. That takes care of the chat shoutouts. Now it's time for me to bring us to the summary of the book and kind of sort of talk about what it is. So, oh man, this is my deep dive into one of the questions. So I use, for those of you guys that don't know, I use ChatGPT to help me run the book club stream stuff. And one of the things I ask it to do is summarize the book. So here we go. From everyone's favorite, Mr. ChatGPT, from Sam Altman himself, The Art of War is a 2,500-year-old guide to strategy and leadership attributed to Sun Tzu. Though written as a military treatise, its principles of preparation, adaptability, and psychological insight have made it influential in business, politics, sports, and personal decision making. It matters because it teaches how to win efficiently, sometimes without fighting at all. And there's 13 chapters in this book, but I've kind of split them up into 5 little categories, right? So chapters 1, 2, and 3 are laying plans, waging war, and attack by stratagem. And those chapters, they're all about like strategy. It's about establishing core ideas. Strategy must be calculated. Prolonged conflict is costly. And the greatest victory is defeating the enemy without fighting and basically like taking no losses. Because again, like if you conquer your enemy without fighting, you can use them as essentially a money printer for your little empire. And that's much more valuable than like breaking all the money printers and then putting your own in later. So here's that. The second part of the book, chapters 4, 5, and 6, are tactical dispositions, use of energy, and weak points and strong points. And this is where Sun Tzu emphasizes readiness and positioning. Victory is often secured before the first move ever happens through preparation, conserving energy, and exploiting vulnerabilities while covering your own. This part of the book reminded me of like the importance of logic versus emotionalism while in like superheated moments, and I can go into a little bit more detail, but suffice it to say it's essentially like when the battle is won before it's ever fought. It's basically because like you didn't make any mistakes, you didn't fall for like the insult hurling, and you didn't fall for any of the like the trickery or the what is it, hubris or anything like that. So that's a good section of the book, is the preparation and the positioning. The third part of the book is focused around movement and adaptation. It's chapters 7, 8, and 9, and it's about maneuvering. It's about variation of tactics, and it's about like describing what to do with your army while on the march. So this isn't really it's not technically relevant today, but it's still good. There's still good like principles and stuff in there. Um, it's about lessons that deal with movement, unpredictability, and flexibility, and how a leader has to adapt to shifting circumstances to remain fluid while keeping forces coordinated. I think he even quoted the oh man, I can't think of the martial art where it's like be like water, the thing that Bruce Lee does, but he
Kung
quoted
Fu?
that. Not kung fu. It's like Shen something. I can't remember. I know that it's written somewhere in these pages and pages of AI notes that I got. But that's the third part. That's the third part of the book. The fourth part is about understanding the environment. It's chapters 10 and 11. So this is about like classification in terrain and the 9 different situations. So he explains how the environment, both like literal terrain and the metaphorical conditions, can shape conflict. So leaders succeed by understanding context, adjusting tactics, and recognizing phases of engagement. So this is more. This stuff has like metaphorical interpretations that we can use, but most of it is about like, literal terrain, like, hey, don't march and fight in the mud. Like if you find yourself in a swamp, try and get your back to some trees. Don't attack an army when it starts crossing a river, attack an army when it's halfway through crossing a river. So that way like half of its forces are, unoccupied, and you can take out the half that's already across and have advantage, And then the final part of the book is chapters 12 and 13, which is about attacking by fire and the use case of spies. And this was really interesting because like fire isn't used as a weapon a whole lot in today's world because we have good firefighting technology, and it's like it's not it's almost unethical, immoral to use fire as a weapon more so than like, well, not it's not any more unethical or more immoral than it used to be. It's just now there's other options that work better than lighting someone's field on fire and stuff. So it talks about how that could be used as like psychological warfare and stuff, and how to like set fires with advantage in the wind and what time of day and other cool things. Really interesting chapter. And then the final chapter for the, like the specialized tools is about spies and using subterfuge and people selling secrets and purposefully giving out misinformation so that spies will take the misinformation to the enemy and like and feed them bad info and stuff, and like play and counterplay, and it's super cool and awesome. But those are the basic 5 parts of the book. That's a general a general idea of like what happens in the art of war. And guys, it's only 100 pages long. Like you saw Zenith when he picked up the book. It's a tiny little book. So that
Also,
being
the
said,
way that is
go ahead.
the way that it is written looks like that.
Yeah.
If you get the
It's-
audiobook on Audible, which is free by the way, at one time speed, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. It is very easy to read.
Mhm. I listened to it twice just today, and then like once again yesterday. So it was like it's super super convenient. So I like it a lot, and I really do think that everyone should read it. It's a quality book, and it's not difficult to digest or difficult to understand. So there you guys go. Zenith, before I get into like the crazy questions and everything, did you have a particular book that stood out to you, or that was more memorable or more fun or anything?
Yeah, one of the things the book is called The Art of War, obviously, so you think it's probably about a lot about warfare. But one of the main things that he talks about is where did it go? Get back here. Sun Tzu teaches that supreme excellence means achieving victory without confrontation, which is the highest form of strategic success. So
Yep.
even though the man wrote an entire book about war, he's saying if you can win a war without actually physically fighting, that is the ultimate strategic victory. And that's where he kind of starts talking about the idea of like direct versus indirect confrontation about stuff. And again, it goes back to the idea of like when you are fighting someone, do you think it's better to destroy all their stuff or try to capture it? Do you think it's better to kill all the enemy troops or to capture some of them and try to integrate them into your own forces somehow? It's the idea of like, we are not here to just plow under the entire enemy. We're here for a goal. The goal is victory. Victory does not mean we killed everybody. Victory means we achieve the objectives. And he even says like, look, you don't even have to necessarily like fight the army head on, especially when it comes to like nation on nation stuff. Talks about you can use subterfuge. He's big on spies in the last chapter as well, but you can use subterfuge, you can use indirect action, you can use pressure from alliances and that kind of stuff to achieve the victories that you want without ever having to actually raise your sword. Yep. I thought that is one of the big lessons. Obviously, he does spend a good amount of time of like, all right, we're actually fighting now. How do we do this? But he's like, first and foremost, win first, fight second.
Yeah, I think that that's really important. A lot of people will jump to the fight first side of the coin, where it's like, oh, I'm in a bar brawl, I better just start throwing fists and dominate everybody. And it's like, nah, that's actually probably not the best idea. You don't know who's got a knife, you don't know who's got the gun. Like this is part of like one of the top examples in the book is know thyself and know the enemy. If you're walking into a fight and you only know yourself and you don't know the enemy, you can expect to lose about half of your battles because something's going to come out and surprise you. If you know yourself and you know the enemy, you can get into 100 fights and never have to worry about a damn thing, right? If you know neither yourself and you also don't know the enemy, then you're fucked and you're going to lose. Like that is the expectation, that is the baseline set. So like you picture a bar brawl, right? If you didn't scan the crowd, you didn't find out like what cliques of dudes are hanging out with other dudes, who's going to back up this guy if he goes and talks some shit and grabs some ass somewhere and gets in trouble, right? If you don't know who's going to be backing up who looks like they're carrying a pistol, who doesn't, who looks like they have cauliflower ears and like where's the exits, what are like how many cue balls can I pick up to fucking like smash into faces before like we get into problems? If you don't know all of the stuff before you get into the fight, then your best chances are 50-50, and that's only if you know yourself. If you've never been tested in a fight before, if you don't know your marksmanship, your ability to like stab someone, your ability to throw a punch, your ability to grapple if it gets to the ground, then like you're probably pretty fucked. So that principle really is like some of the best stuff in the book. If you can avoid the fight without ever having to like get into the fight, then you're winning. And worst case scenario, if you do get into the fight, then read this book and understand how to march your people around and get into fire. So sorry, bro. What
No,
so
you're not
your
wrong.
favorite
So
part of
I was
the
gonna
book
say, I think that's like one of the biggest lessons. That's kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna say it's a secret, but it's definitely something that was, people are like, if you just like threw this book at someone, they're like, oh yes, The Art of War by the Chinese guy that was a general, and he's gonna tell you try to win without fighting. You're like, huh? But no, it makes sense. And I will say the part of the book, I think probably one of the more quoted parts of Sun Tzu is know thyself. And that's like a fraction of the overall quotes. But he has a very good passage there where he does like the repetition of sentences where he's like, if you know yourself, but you don't know the enemy, you're only halfway to victory. If you don't know yourself, but you do know the enemy, you're only halfway to victory. If you know the enemy, you know yourself, but you don't know where or how you're fighting, you're only halfway to victory.
Mm-hmm. The repetition, like it's important. People underestimate repetition. People
Definitely
underestimate repetition. We have a quote here from Mr. Moonfield Rational Optics. Killing leads to contemptible outcomes and which inspires others to take up against you and inspires revolution. So you're absolutely right there, broski. And I really can't stress enough that like winning without killing is like the best option. So if you can win without killing, then you're good. The only thing that like killing does is sort of kind of satisfies the ego, which entirely lives inside your head. And once you die, all that ego is gone and it doesn't mean anything anymore. So it's like it's a temporary solution to it's a temporary solution to a temporary problem with far greater negative externalities than positive ones. We've also got Paul Sachs over here. First to play grab ass gets a rat tail, boys. Cheers to you, or cheers, boys. Cheers to you, Mr. Paul Sachs. Glad we could have you with us tonight as well. Yes. I don't know what a rat tail is, but I think that's where you like spin the towel and you like
the
whip
wet
someone,
towel,
right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So there you guys go. No rat tails for us on stream tonight. So
I guess I got one more thing here for you. It's another kind of like counterintuitive idea, but if you think about it, it really makes sense. Which is, he talks about avoiding prolonged warfare, which is that no nation actually wins when you prolong war. It again goes back to the idea of like, you are here to win first and fight if you have to. You are not here to wage the battle. You're not here to be King Edward of England in the 1300s, where you're telling the boys we're going to go mess up the French because God told me to, and because fuck those guys. No, you're not doing that. You're not waging the 100 Years' War. You're here to accomplish your mission. Get in, get out, done.
Yep. And like you can look at today and see America's been at war basically for like the last since World War II. Since like the Korean War, because the Korean War spun up, I want to say in the 50s, but ever since like Eisenhower talking about beware of the industrial military complex, the United States has been more or less in a bit of like unending war with the rest of the world, whether we're at war directly or we're supporting people or we're sending bombs and missiles. Like the United States, like we're gonna be honest here, the United States' primary export is war, in my humble opinion, anyways. Like in the 1950s, we were fighting Korea. In the 1960s and 70s, we were over in Vietnam. In the 1980s, we were doing Kosovo. We were doing Desert Shield. And then in the 90s, it was Desert Storm. And now in the 2000s, look at that. We're going over and we're getting oil in the Middle East. And now we're finding our way into Ukraine and Russia and shit. And like, there's basically just been nonstop war. Essentially ever since World War II sprung up. I don't remember how long the peace was after World War II, because I guess that we finished over in Japan in like the 1946 or 47 area, maybe 48. I don't know exactly.
I want to say 45 was the official surrender of the Japanese.
Oh, it was 45? Okay.
Pretty sure.
Okay. So yeah. And I know Korea was in the 50s, so it's like maybe a decade of the United States not being at war. But like you can see how tired it gets the rest of the world with the United States, and you can see how tired it makes the U.S. citizens. Probably more so now than back then, because there was probably not a whole lot of education and literacy on what was happening. And ever since that, like you can take a look at like the M2 money supply and the price of things, and like what you could buy with a salary then versus what you could buy with a salary now. Like a salary back then, it takes you like 3 years to pay off your house, and then congratulations, you're a homeowner, and you can do all these things with your money. Like nowadays, it's like, oh, you want to pay off your house? Ha! Good luck, bro. 30 years, you might get out of it. Probably not, but it's just a big Ponzi scheme. In the United States, like we do literal war that we print and send out to the rest of the world, and like it's it funds the military industrial complex, which is nice because they buy coffees and they need their lawnmowers fixed, and they need to have like a working toilet in their house, and they need to buy copy paper for the printer. So like there's other things that the money trickles down Cantillon effect style, but like being at war for a prolonged period like ruins everybody. So
Yep, sure
that's
does.
that's absolutely why. What do you think what do you think, Zenith, that winning without fighting looks like in today's world when it comes to warfare?
I think it looks like subterfuge, media manipulation, and cultural victories. It looks like stuff that takes a long time to play out. It kind of goes to those ideas of like, in America, we have a 4-year election cycle, and that's what we primarily focus on. But our adversaries, like the Chinese, think in 100-year stints for parts of their plan. And it's stuff like that. I know it's very easy, especially in today's day and age where everything is instantaneous, and the ability to deliver firepower anywhere in the world is very, very quick to do. But if you want to win without fighting, it definitely comes back to you got to position yourself and then position the people around the other folks that you're trying to defeat effectively. So whether it's trying to like if you're trying to topple a regime without actually sending in the army, you can use the media to rile up the people. You could use allies, your allies or their allies, to either turn on them or cut them off. And then you could also just use a lot of deception, which is make them think you're going one way and you do other things. And then they kind of just like get out over their skis and kind of get screwed as a result of it. That kind of stuff. But again, that kind of stuff is not fast.
Yeah. That's the long game, baby. Hey, that's the fucking delayed gratification shit right there.
There you go. I'm in a war with the old Cuatro Cinco.
It's amusing. So that's like kinetic war and stuff. But what do you think about like winning without fighting looks like in business or in like relationships or something? Actually, we'll go with relationships. That's a fun topic. So by the way, looking fucking swole there, bro. I like it.
Thanks,
Get them
buddy.
guns out. Sun's out, guns out.
Relationships, I don't know if that one applies as much when it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean,
I can take over there, but go, like finish your thoughts.
Well, here's my train of thought, which is that the goal of are you talking about like romantic relationships or like interpersonal relationships in general?
Yes.
Okay, interpersonal relationships in general, I can definitely see more of that. If you think about like social orders and stuff within just like social groups, that can definitely be something that this would apply to. And it kind of goes back to the idea of like, or I guess I'm introducing the idea of maybe like mob psychology, group forming, leadership philosophies, that kind of stuff. It's like the classic trope. Like I love the show Burn Notice. That's one of my favorite shows. And it's kind of a common trope in there where the guy is a spy or an ex-spy, and he's trying to help people out in kind of like the underworld bits whenever they get into trouble. And a lot of it is like trying to get people to do things when it's like Michael, Fiona, and Sam. That is the entire team, and they have to figure out how to solve any problem. Whether it's, I think one of the episodes is a guy is like marked for death by like an Italian mob. So what they do is the guy that's pressing down on him, they go kidnap him and make him think that the family back in New York is turning on him because he's not making enough money for them. So he's like, wait, I'll help you out with a score. It'll be great. And then that job kind of fails. But they're like, hey, you kind of got a good thing going here. What if you tried like taking out the lieutenant? So they go hire a bunch of like actors and rent SUVs. And then they're like, yeah, we have a small personal army. Like, we'll back you up. So when you make your play to take out the guy ahead of you and you step into his position, like, you'll be good to go. So they have the guy like roll up on the higher up, the lieutenant or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, take this MP5 and just like, I don't know, go shoot out his tires and make him look like we're going to kill him here. And then he does that. Then he gives a speech of like, I'm taking you out. And then Mike, Sam, and Fiona make the signal, and they have all their people get back in the vans and just run away. So the dude is just left out there on his own after attacking the guy he was not supposed to attack. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a tangent. Interpersonal
Campbell.
relationships. Bruce Campbell, the man with the chin. Good
Yes,
actor right
and
there.
a chainsaw hand.
Oh, what was that movie again?
The chainsaw one?
Yeah. It's like Evil Dead.
There's
or
Army of
something?
Darkness, but there's Evil Dead
Army
is
of
the
Darkness.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Good series. Anyways, interpersonal relationships. If you apply this stuff in interpersonal relationships, I think it has the ability to go very poorly if things go sideways. And I say that because you're making what are potentially aggressive plays that are deliberate and thought out. And once other people kind of like get wind of that, then it immediately is kind of like a gloves off moment where it's like, oh, okay, we're not getting along. Got it. So now, depending on how far you go, you can get to those situations where it's like, all right, only one of us can stay here, whether you're in a friend group, in a company, whatever it is. It's like, be careful how far you go with this stuff and the interpersonal stuff. That's what I would say on it. But like, could you apply it? Yeah, for sure.
I think aggressive might be it's a good descriptive word, and it has a very clear picture that it paints. I would posit using the word assertive over aggressive when it comes to winning without fighting. So if you can make everybody your friends, or if you can just be in a position of like, I don't want to say dominance, but advantage the entire time, then like you don't have to worry about it's like nipping problems in the bud, having confrontation to avoid conflict. One of the things Michael Sartain talks about a lot. Shout out to Men of Action and stuff. We have confrontation to avoid conflict. It's like you trim the the stuff off of the plant before it becomes infectious. You remove all of the unnecessary dead weight before it slows you down and becomes a problem. You address things before they fester. You close the wound before it gets infected. All these different little analogies. If you put yourself in advantageous positions, then it doesn't necessarily have to be aggressive. It could just be self-serving, which isn't necessarily always bad. One of the conversations I have with people oftentimes is I always tell them, like, I'm incredibly selfish, and you get to benefit from that because I like you and you're a cool person. So as long as you're on my team, and as long as you're like not trying to like annoy me or piss me off or do things that I constantly tell you not to do, or like if you're assisting me in getting my goals accomplished, then you get to benefit from all the things that comes with being on my team. But then like once I start noticing people not be on my team, then it's like, okay, I have to trim you from my life. And if I like trim people from my life and they try crawling back in, it's like, oh shoot, now I gotta like really trim them from my life because they don't understand in the first place. So it's like this, as long as you keep advantage on your side and you give people like firm and clear boundaries, and then you enforce those boundaries, then you can win without ever fighting, right? Instead of having like think about the breakups that happen where it's just like, hey, I'm done with you and I don't want to see you anymore, and like there's no other ties, and the people just move like separately away. It's way cleaner than the ones where it's like, imagine like vases getting thrown in the house. That's the conflict. That's winning with fighting as opposed to winning without fighting. So I think that these sort of principles and things like it, that's how I think that it can apply to relationships between people, whether it's like interpersonal or like pair bonding or parent father, boss employee, teacher and student. All these different things. As long as you maintain firm boundaries and you go after things that you like, then you can do all this stuff and you can win without fighting, and you never have to enter into fights by just knowing how to avoid them. It's kind of like the situational awareness classes in the PMEs that we would get. So Zenith and I, for the folks at home who don't know, we're both military, right? Like we're both veterans, and so I was in the Marine Corps, Z was in the Coast Guard, and we all got the same training all the time, I'm quite sure. And it's basically like, hey, maintain situational awareness, be aware of what's around you, and if you see something that might be fishy or suspicious, then stay fuck away from it. Or like only approach it if you know what you're doing. I'm sure Z, because you guys would do, I think as I recall, you guys would do like drug busts, or you would go and like approach unknown-ish boats. Like I imagine that there's quite a bit of reconnaissance going on. You don't just wander up to a random boat without knowing like what country it comes from, where it's supposed to be going, like what heading it's in. Does it have any like weapons on board? Is it like visible? What's the presumed size of the engine? How fast can this thing go? All of these different things. Like it's important to have all that information so that way you can win without fighting. And anyways, we've gone on about that long enough. It looks like you got a thought, broski. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, for the interpersonal stuff and where the art of war applies. If you want to think more of like business, obviously we have the military background, so it's the one-to-one translation for us. But Sun Tzu talks about good order and discipline within your troops is very important, because if you have unruly troops and you give them orders and they don't do it, they're pretty much worthless. But at the same time, though, if you have troops that are, I don't know, like scared to shitless, then they are prone to panic when push comes to shove in certain situations. So in the military, obviously that's a one-to-one correlation, which is you got to have good order and discipline so that people are actually doing what they need to when they need to do it. And it's the ability to get beyond yourself and understand that you are a singular part of a larger unit, which is part of a larger force. And if everyone does their job together, more of us get to come home. That's the upside. The more people that don't do their job, the less of us get to come home when all is said and done. When it comes to business, when it comes to business, it's the same thing, which is that if you are like a supervisor and you got like 5 people that work under you and you are managing this small team, if you have the team that is on the same page, then that's good, because it means that you can give direction from the top because you're focusing on a larger goal, and you need your guys who are very good at what they do to focus on their very specific tasks, which they're very good in. It's not that anyone can do anyone else's job at any time, but it's that everyone's doing what they can, when they can, to the best of their ability, but it's all in the same direction. So if people are kind of like meandering and not doing what they're supposed to, not like fooling around, but like maybe focusing elsewhere instead of focusing on the things that you need them to, that can get you into those issues there. And that can get you into some of the issues he talks about in the book, where you start having the prolonged warfare, where your schedule starts getting delayed and your budget starts getting cut and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I like that. And I totally lost like my train of thought there at the end, because there was a
sorry.
But no, you're good. You're good. And those are all well-made points. I'm going to do a hard pivot into another question that sort of kind of tangentializes off of this one, but it's, why is preparation often more decisive than the actual battle itself?
I'm trying to think. I think one of his quotes was like, a good preparer is someone who never has to pack the supply van twice. Is that what it was?
I think that was one of them, and that one also had to do with like raiding your enemy of resources while you're over there. But that's like a logistical concern. But preparation is logistics.
It is, but Sun Tzu makes a very big point about preparation in the book, and part of it is knowing what you're getting yourself into. Because you need stuff to do your stuff, but at the same time, it's understanding that if you're not prepared, you're not going to be able to take on as much as you can. And it kind of goes back to that know thyself thing, which is that if you show up unprepared, you don't actually know what you're capable of, because you don't know what you have and what you don't have. So preparation makes sense, not just from strategic, which is like, I'm going to do these 3 things. In order to do each of them, I probably need some sort of specialized gear, and then I'm going to need an amount of overall gear to accomplish all 3 at the same time without having to go resupply and that kind of stuff. If you fail to do that, then you're going to be running into your own self. You're not just fighting the enemy at that point, you're fighting yourself. I don't know. If I remember correctly, one of the reasons that Sun Tzu wrote this book is that he was promoted to general. He was originally called Sun Wu, and then Sun Tzu was the title he was given when he was general, which is like the ruler of the sun or something. It's pretty metal. But there's 2 reasons he wrote this book. Number 1, prepare his underlings to potentially take his job one day, because he's going to become an old man and he wants to promulgate the knowledge. But the second one was that this also was written around, what was it, like 700 BC or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And there's a good chunk of the book that talks about like the sovereigns getting involved in your stuff. And he's like, no, the general needs to be separate from the sovereign so that they don't screw up my campaign. So some of the stuff, like including the preparation stuff, that stuff, like at the time, was kind of written as a response to the sovereigns who don't understand warfare. He's like, hey, stop hamstringing me when I'm trying to do my job, which is like, don't send us out into the field expecting that we're just going to find whatever we need. Don't try to push the troops like way too far in a single day because we're going to lose half the people from fatigue or ambush or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's those simple concepts where it's very simple when we're talking about it now because we've learned this over time and we've seen all the many victories and failures that have happened just based on pure preparation. So is it simplistic? Yes. Is it very important? Also, yes.
Well, and it's also like you can see that in different aspects other than like militaristic. It's like when the CEO comes down to the shop and there's like, you know, you've got the shop lead, the shop push, or whoever's the head honcho, the foreman, the boss, whatever you want to call it, the one who oversees the operations every single day, who's like nose deep in the business and knows what's going on. And then the CEO comes down and it's like the CEO's job is like big stuff. The shop guy's stuff is what happens inside that shop. And when the CEO comes down and starts pushing his nose all over the place and like sees this well running machine and he's like, aha, I could do a better job of this. Like you get the same sort of problem. You get the same problem when people move out of their place of expertise and they go into another place where they have no expertise and they allow their hubris to take over. And, you know, everybody dies in warfare when that happens, when the sovereign comes onto the battlefield and says like, this is what I would like to do to get the battles won. And it's like, you gotta know yourself. You gotta know thy place. And so I really like that part of the book where it's like, hey, if you're a good general, sometimes you got to say, look, sovereign, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I won't do that. You have to know your limits. And you also have to know like, hey, if I kill everybody that's in between me and the objective, and there's some of our guys on the way, then like I'm going to ruin this country that we are currently in, and then they're going to kill me, and then they're going to kill you, Mr. Sovereign Dude. So it's like you gotta know the limits and basically tell people to fucking take their snooty little nose and put it back into their own business and worry about the things that sovereigns worry about, you know. So I thought that was awesome. I thought that was pretty cool there as well. Do you think that
while we're here, let's talk about, there was another interesting section I want to talk about. That's the generals.
Okay. Yeah.
Later on in the book, Sun Tzu talks about the 5 ways that generals fail, or if you have one of these generals, you're probably going to fail. And here are the 5 dangerous faults that you can have. Number 1 is recklessness. If you're too reckless, this leads to destruction. You're too willing to push too far and just get cut off at the knees or just get caught in a trap that you didn't see. Number 2 is cowardice. This one says that you're a little too easy to capture. You throw down the weapons too early, or you don't push hard enough, you don't accomplish your goals. Number 3 is having a quick temper. It means you're easily provoked into rashness, and you're easily, again, it's similar to the reckless one, which is you're provocable, which means that people can control you to do what they want instead of you just logically thinking about what you want to do and execute. Number 4 is delicacy to honor, being oversensitive to shame and thinking too harshly in terms of that stuff. And it can stop you from taking actions you need, and it can also prevent you. It can prevent you from going where you need to go because you're worried it might be seen as unhonorable by other people. Meanwhile, your orders say this is a critical objective, go do this, and you're like, but I can't because it's going to look bad on me. And that's just ego right there.
Yeah.
Lastly, this is kind of an interesting one. Is it's listed as over solicitude to the men or being too empathetic of a leader for the people under you, which is if you have too close of ties with the people that are working under you. Again, this is very militaristic terms, which is like if you care too much about the people, you have too many emotional connections. So this is going to lead you to hesitation and weakness. When you're too worried about the outcomes of the individuals, you forget to look at the overall outcome of the group as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Like occasionally you have to like send some people to their death in order for everyone else to not die. You have to pull the lever on that trolley, you know, in a war scenario, you have to pull the lever on that trolley to keep the mission alive, to keep the machine moving forward. You know, when the individual gears start worrying about the individual gears inside the machine, the whole machine gets wrecked and everything goes kaput. I like those stories of the 5 different types of generals.
To elaborate and get the obvious retort to this one is going to be like that kind of thinking sounds very heartless and emotionless, and you're trading lives effectively.
Well, it's war. It's war, baby. Sorry.
That is,
You know?
it is the cold rationality of war, which is that's why when you go to war, you should have a very good reason. It's one of the reasons why one of the current arguments that's been floating around when it comes to American foreign policy is that you should be able to explain to people at home why you are sacrificing priceless American treasure and American blood. If you're not able to explain that, then you're not going to have a good answer to that rebut, which is that we're here to accomplish a thing. There's lots of guys that went over to the sandbox and talked about, like, people were saying like, oh, our mission is to get everybody home. And it's like, no, your mission should be to accomplish the mission. The secondary mission is get as many people back home as possible. We're not saying that you just like go sacrifice people. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But it is the idea of acceptable losses, which is that either your command structure has a logistical amount of acceptable losses before it just falls apart and can no longer operate, or it is how much is too much of a cost to actually go through with this. Because you can just blindly and recklessly go forward and try to just, again, wage war instead of try to accomplish victory. And that's where that counterpoint really gets thrown back in your face and actually matters. But if you are able to actually stick to the ideal of we are here to win first, we're not here to fight, we're here to win, then that is how you logistically and acceptably answer that question of like, oh, saying that you don't care too much about these people and that some people may die sounds cold and heartless, so why should you lead? It's like, because we are the people that are best suited to this and best fit to do it, and we're here to accomplish the mission. We're not here to die, we're here to win. That kind of stuff.
That harkens me back to corporal's course and sergeant's course in the Marine Corps, which I used to do people's courses for them. They would pay me, and I would run through their online coursework for them. And like one of the interesting things of like cheating in the Marine Corps and doing other people's coursework for them is that I accidentally learned a whole bunch of stuff about leadership. So like a lot of it stuck really well, which is just kind of funny. It's like, by doing the course a whole bunch, I actually learned the stuff in the course that everyone just kind of bullshits and doesn't take seriously. But like one of the more important things that stood out to me is that the object of war is not to kill people. It's to impose your will on the enemy. It's to get the mission accomplished, like you're just saying. It's not about fighting. It's not about going and slitting throats and shooting bullets. It's about stopping the threat or getting your thing done, whatever that thing might be. Like, the object of pulling out a gun to stop a home invasion isn't to put holes in people's chest. It's to protect your things and keep your family safe. You know, the reason that we do
to elaborate on that point real quick. For the idea of like why do you have a weapon to protect yourself and your family at your house? It is to protect yourself and your family and your property to an extent. It is not there so you can slap on the nods and feel cool doing CQB trying to clear out all the hostiles. It is no, your primary objective is survive. It is not to eliminate the enemy. It's necessary if push comes to shove, but primary first is safety and security. So I recommend go find that nasty angle that's in your house somewhere and find a way to just hold up on that one.
Yep. Or move out. If you're in a place where people are getting broke into all the time, move the fuck out to like go out into the country and have like a decent perimeter of, I don't know, a crocodile moat or a lava pit or something. Like have a or concertina wire strung all over everywhere. If you that's what we're describing with like dealing with the home invasion. That's winning with the fighting, but winning without the fighting is you move to a safe place. You're in a gated community where break-ins don't happen, or you're in the country where like people have to drive 10 miles to rob you. You know, it's like the barrier of entry, the higher you can increase the barrier of entry to conduct violence, then like the safer you're going to be. And that's what winning without fighting looks like. That's what the whole point of the book is to take these kinds of principles and employ them so that you never have to fight. And then when you do need to fight, like you're not fighting for the sake of killing. You're fighting for the sake of what is the end goal as a result of the killing. The killing is the means to an end. It is not the end itself. So that's true. Man, I like that we're going down this little rabbit hole, broski. This is good.
Yeah, I to take it with you and I think are very willing to go down the army military rabbit hole, but to I guess bring it one layer back. Let's even talk about like the crypto investing stuff here. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons why we are in this space and we do what we do is because the US fiat dollar is trash and we want to avoid getting wrecked by inflation or money printing. So if you wanted to fight, you would go try to fight the Federal Reserve and try to do all the stuff necessary to change public policy or literally go destroy the institution. Or instead, you could win without fighting, which is you choose the alternative, which is why we've done what we've done, which is that, look, I've moved somewhere else. I've moved a good chunk of the manifestation of my time and effort, which is money, into something more stable and actually has good potential upside potential. So that's one of the ways you can look at this stuff without just being like, I'm not an army man. What do I do? It's like, okay, win without fighting. How can you win without actually trying to like go confront everything? How can you, or without getting in conflict, to use your terms? There you go.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. So it's like, are those people in your friend group that you don't really like? Cool. Maybe find some new friends. So maybe a boss at work you don't want to deal with. Try to find the alternative solution, whether it's another job, see if you can move somewhere else in the company. And then if God forbid you have to, well, then maybe start to employ some of this stuff. Maybe start to understand what they're about, what you're about, what other people are about. Maybe try to get more people to align with you, or realize the larger situation at play and make them realize, oh, wow, this guy kind of does suck. Let's not hang out with them anymore. There you go. Win without fighting.
And that ties back to like know yourself and know the enemy. If you know yourself, if you know the like how much your dollar is devaluing every single year because of inflation and because of like the crazy fiscal policy that the Federal Reserve in conjunction with the United States government has, right? If you understand what the bad guys are doing, or maybe not bad guys, but the other guys that are seizing power by taking it away from you, via printing more money and devaluing the money you already have. If you understand the enemy and you understand yourself, then you can make the decision to be like, oh, well, I'm going to live in the financial world where like in 10 years it costs 50% more to buy a loaf of bread, or like the price of my house is increasing in dollar units, but I can still only buy one house with that same amount of dollar units in the future as I bought with it in the past. So like if your house went from 100,000 to 200,000, then congratulations, the number went up. But that's like if I took a ruler and I squeezed it down to half its length, right? Like the thing that I'm measuring is still the exact same size. The number of units within that measurement has doubled, and it's like, yeah, I got double the like now I've got fucking 46-inch biceps instead of 24-inch biceps, and it's like, it's the same. The number that you're using to measure it is different, and that's what happens with the financial system. Is they print you into obsolescence, and they send the money to their friends first and foremost, and then their friends spend the money, and eventually it trickles down to you through your employer or through your investments or your wherever you get your money from. When you go out and manipulate the world and you acquire money as a result of that manipulation, whether you're robbing banks or whether you're flipping burgers or you're a day trader copy pasting and looking at RSIs and stuff all day long, like everyone that uses the dollar that is not printing the dollar is getting devalued by the dollar. And the people that are closer to the printer, they get to experience the best part of the money before it goes and spreads out to the rest of the world. It's called the Cantillon effect for those of you guys that are unaware. But yeah, you can do war with the financial system. You can do war with the city that you're in, with the neighborhood that you live in. If the neighborhood is treating you poorly, not like as like a group, but as just like the concept of this place that I live in sucks, then you can do war and win without fighting by simply moving somewhere else, or I don't know, building a taller house than everyone. Those are examples of winning without fighting.
Yeah. To push this a little further in the book, one of the things that Sun Tzu talks about is the hierarchy of strategies, which is what are the fights that you want to take and what are the fights that you least want to take. Number one is attacking the strategy itself. Number two is attacking a group of an alliance, a group of people. Number three is attacking an army, going force to force. And number three is trying to siege a walled city. So I know that might sound a little abstract, but let's flip it. So if you are the enemy of Sun Tzu in this case, which one of those do you want to be? You want to build your walled city and make them siege it, because that's the hardest thing to do. So to draw further upon our analogy here, like we're not trying to find the prolonged war with the US dollar, because that's a losing battle. Inflation will show that. And the M2 money supply will also show that.
And they're stronger than you. They're stronger. Exactly. They've got more money. They've got bigger institutions, and they've got way more momentum.
Yep. So the answer is build that walled city. You can do that, whether it's building yourself or your skills, it's building up your overall financials. And then lastly, it's what we're talking about here, which is transferring your financials into more secure assets that can help build up those walls, which is that they can try to crumble the US dollar. Good luck trying to crumble Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies that have a lot of stability built into them. I'm not saying cryptocurrency is stable by nature. What I'm saying is that the fundamentals of cryptocurrencies is usually limited supply, decentralization, anonymous transactions. Cool. All three of those things are very hard for governments to try to finagle when it comes to fiat currencies, which goes back why we're kind of very large proponents of this whole thing. And it's one of the ways that you can kind of win this war against inflation or the US dollar effectively, which is that getting better assets, getting a multitude of assets, grow yourself and grow your skills and grow your network. So that way, if the US dollar does start not doing too great, or your ability to make US dollars is not doing too great, then you have other things to rely on. So there you go. Build the walled city, baby.
Build the walled city. Reinforce yourself. Get away from the bad things. Next question I want to ask you is which is more powerful today? So like if you had to choose between force, resources, or information, right? Which do you think is the best to probably have?
I think it's either information or resources. And I feel like it's kind of a chicken.
I would lean towards information personally.
I think it's kind of a what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is that like if you have information but you have no resources, you can't really act on it. But if you have resources without information, you don't know what to act on.
Exactly.
Theoretically, well, how about this? Let's flip it back on you. Which one do you think is harder to acquire, resources or information?
I think that, well, in today's day and age, information is very, very accessible. Now, you have to spend a lot of attention and you have to dig through a lot of bullshit to get to the information. But once you find a spigot of truth, once you find the DGen Roundtable podcast and you listen to us every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, then hey, you've found your information, you found your spigot of truth. And honestly, like, we're not any different than most people. We're just a couple friends that talk to each other and just we happen to find other information and then we filter through it ourselves and then you guys get it secondhand. So I don't know, maybe if you guys start a podcast at home and you do your own thing, then we could just keep regurgitating the same information and find more like-minded people who occasionally one of them will have something cool to share. Like when we get Alan on the stream, Dr. Alan Chen, and he talks about like fixing your health. Or when we get my mother on the stream and she talks about like not getting in trouble with the IRS or who are some other guests, Stephen Five Keys, and he talks about security in the crypto space. Like we branch out and we make friends with people and then we hope to share that stuff. Like you can take a look at Joe Rogan's old podcasts and probably some of his new ones too and find cool people that have great information. If you eat the spoon-fed propaganda that everyone eats, if you go and watch the Legacy Media Corporation, right? If you take a look at the printing press stuff and you don't look at like individual journalists or you don't look at people with a good reputation or like solid character that are basically feeding you brain rot poison. Like, oh, look at this. Some person of X, Y, and Z skin color did this, that, and the other thing to another person of different skin color or ethnicity or race or creed or whatever. And therefore, you must hate them or you must love them and support them. And it's just like, it's a whole bunch of inflammation, get you excited and get you worked up stuff that doesn't help you get stronger, as opposed to like you go and listen to a cool podcast like ours where we talk about like, hey guys, this is how you learn how to become stronger. This is how you learn to become more powerful. This is how you learn to conduct war. This is how you learn to defend yourself and do cool things. So I would say that the harder one to acquire of the two is probably resources. You can get force relatively easily, but force is a scaling problem because like as your ability of force, like it doesn't matter if Trump knows jujitsu because no one's coming after him with a triangle choke. So like he doesn't have to have the same level of force, and I don't have to carry around a nuclear football. So like force has a scale, resources has a scale, information is really like I guess it also scales as well, but you can find information really easy. So I think it's probably hardest to get resources, but they are equally important to information. Chicken and egg analogy you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I guess the way that I'd answer it, well, somewhat splitting the baby, is that I think you require the minimum amount of resources to get going. After that, getting more information is going to be your best bet. I don't mean force in our little triangle of force, resources, information, but information can be a force multiplier for sure. And you're using that on your existing resources to acquire more resources. And then additionally, once you have a large enough amount of resources, just the fact that you have that amount of resources available to you means that you're probably going to have the ability to access even more information that was previously held back or that was just not available to you at that level. It's the flywheel. There you go, baby. It's a flywheel. So I guess what I'm saying here is that I think information overall is definitely more important, but resources, you need a bare minimum of resources in order to make the information useful.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's my half and half answer.
Getting
How terrible is that?
Nah, that's a good answer. It's well thought out, right? If you'd have just said resources, no explanation, I'd be like, well, that's a boring question answer. But because we workshopped it and you explained it through, like, I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
You dig it.
I'm down to take a nuanced answer when it comes with like a really good explanation. You know, it's kind of like all plans are useless, but the act of planning is invaluable, is because you're working through the process of thinking and understanding, as opposed to just making a snap decision. It's like, oh yeah, force is the best. Easy, done. I'm the mouse that runs straight through the maze to get the block of cheese instead of like going and traversing all the corners and things. It's one of my oldest and favorite memes. Is like a mouse wearing Marine Corps camis, and it's just like charging through the fucking maze. Yep. Do you think that Sun Tzu's focus on deception and spies is kind of toxic, or do you think that people would interpret it as toxic in a modern like a modern interpretation on like leadership and information gathering?
I think that people are going to be very quick to label it as such, but I think it is very much necessary in today's day and age. It's the idea that just this thing exists and you know that other people are probably going to use it. So why be shamed into not using it when you could just use it to better affect yourself? So using deception and espionage, if you will, the whole point of espionage is espionage. It's not just like busting down a wall and sticking your head in there like, hey, what you got going on? It is trying to do things with a degree of subterfuge and deception, if you will, so that you can actually acquire information that would not be acquirable otherwise. When it comes to building trust, it's a very quick way to erode trust. But at the same time, there is an understanding that if you're playing certain games at certain levels, that sort of stuff is the standard quo, or status quo, excuse me. So like in interpersonal relations, that kind of stuff is probably not super healthy because by nature, espionage involves a lot of line crossing or boundary crossing, if you will. For interpersonal relations, that's not great. If you are a Fortune 500 company or a nation state trying to interact with other nation states, that is some of the most effective tactics you can deploy. Because the repercussions are not as great on that, and you don't really care about those downsides. But at the same time, that can be where some of your greatest gains come from, which is knowing what other folks are doing so that you can make your own moves as either a counter move or a preemptive move.
Yeah.
So is it dangerous to this goes again back to my idea of like the interpersonal relationship stuff, or especially romantic relationships. Art of War is probably not the guidebook for that one, but there could be bits that can be helpful. Yeah. I don't know. I think Arceus is a good comment here for us.
Yep, this is good. Toxic can be context dependent. Reasonable behavior toward an enemy can be toxic. Can be toxic behavior to a friend, and vice versa. That's an excellent point, Arceus. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, hello to Luna C Point as well, who says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you too, Luna C Point." But I like what Arceus says here. You know, definitely context dependent, and you know, you have to have some nuance. And you have to have some what's the word I like to use a lot? Oh man, calibration. You have to have calibration. You got to be calibrated to, are you dealing with your friends? Are you dealing with your enemies? Are these enemies going to be friends? Are the friends going to be enemies? And then you also have to think about like, are they doing it to me? Is it likely? Is it possible? You know, you have to run that through the risk matrix of like, how severe is the consequence versus how likely is it to happen? and you have to decide where on that graph it falls, and then make a decision accordingly. Like good old fashioned risk assessments. and
So
also
when it
go
go
ahead.
for it.
Well, I
I was
can't
going to say
remember what I
when it
was.
comes to Sun Tzu, he talks about there's 5 kinds of spies that he relies on. You have local
Yeah.
spies, which is like enemy population, inward spies, which is enemy officials, converted, which is other spies that you have flipped for your use, doomed spies, which are like kind of like sacrificial pawn pieces almost, and then surviving spies, which is your spies that make it back.
My favorite one of that list was the Doom spies. I'm like, what the hell is a Doom spy? And those are the ones that you feed the misinformation to, right? And then you send them on their way. It's like, oh yeah, man, I sure hope nobody's. What's that? There's like that South Park thing where it's like, oh, oops, I dropped the files of the World Trade Center collapse on the ground. Like that was I think it was South Park that did that. Where you purposefully feed them bad information so that way they go and report it back to the whoever the hell, and they give bad info, and then they get executed later. So it's like that was kind of funny. It's like spies on spies sort of thing.
I guess as the
he had
interpersonal relation analogy for this one, the local spies could be like if there's someone that you worried about, maybe like talking to people around them, trying to get information that way. If it's inward, maybe the people very close to them. That's a little more dangerous for sure. Converted would maybe be like, I don't know, someone that they scorned or someone that's getting a little pissed off. It's kind of close to them. You're like, all right, thanks for the information. Here's a little more information that may or may not be good that you could feed back and see what happens. And then surviving is just like anybody that you asked about them came back and was cool about it and didn't say a word and was just like, yeah, here's what's going on. I ain't going to say shit.
Yep. And training in secrets is like one of the deadliest. I think one of the things he was saying in the book, and again, this has to do with war specifically, is like any spy that lets out a secret, you have to kill him, and you have to kill the guy he let the secret out to, and any further loose ends down that path. And it's like, ooh, that could be really tricky and troublesome. Like, and so in this instance, information would be the most important like thing to keep and to safeguard. And one of the other things that I wanted to add on to this is that if you're leading an army and you've got 100,000 men, and or if you're leading a business and you've got X, Y, and Z employees and shareholders and families at home that rely on this income stream in order to survive and send their kids to soccer practice and build their 401ks and all that other yib yab. The you as the leader, you have to engage in every single advantage in order to secure the mission that keeps the car moving forward. If you're like, oh, I don't engage in spy work because it's unethical, it's like, well, okay, you're driving this car that has everybody on it, and if you're not taking all of the advantages that that other people are, then you're basically saying like, listen, everybody, I'm putting us at a disadvantage because of my own personal morals and ethics, and yeah, or maybe not even personal, but like you have to engage in dirty work sometimes to keep the mission going. There's are you a fan of Firefly or Serenity at all?
No,
Did you
but I
ever
know
watch the
of
show?
them.
Okay, so um, I'll give you guys a little spoiler here because this show's been out for a long time. So if you guys are fans, I highly suggest you go and watch Serenity, which is the tie together. There was one season of Firefly, and then there was a movie 4 years later that kind of brings the whole thing to a nice close, which a lot of canceled TV shows never get. But anyways, in this show, the crew is being pursued by a very special and capable bad guy whose job is to do the dirty work of the empire, of the big overarching bad guy that's like trying to crush the little man. And he's like, look, I fully understand that everything that I do is unacceptable and gross and horrible, and like honestly, the empire needs me to do it because without me there would be a whole lot of even more heinous things going on. And so I have to go, and I have to be evil, and I have to kill people, and like I don't do it with a smile on my face. I'm not some sort of psychopath. I do it because it's necessary and because I can, and because they need me to do this. And then it's kind of cool. I'm not going to give away the ending, but that was a very important part of the movie Serenity. And like it's quite interesting to think about. Like sometimes we have to engage in atrocities because not engaging in atrocities would lead to an even worse outcome, and then the whole thing ends up being like a moot point anyway. So it's like the trolley lever pulling scenario where it's like, are you going to pull the trolley lever or are you not going to pull the trolley lever? Are you going to sacrifice one person to save 5, or are you going to do something totally different? And Zenith, I don't know if I am frozen right now or if you are frozen, but it looks like you're not moving at all. So I'm not sure what's going on stream. Can you guys in the chats, if you guys can hear me, can you put a 1 in the chats, please, or do something or other? Because I don't know what's going on. I cannot hear or see Zenith, and I am hoping that it's not on my end. I am not getting anything in the chats. Oh no, we lost Zenith. Okay, well, I guess I am the only one. Fiddlesticks. Well, he'll probably be back shortly, guys. So there we go. Oh, he's dead. Yep. Thank you, Funkmaster Hex. I appreciate that, broski. Oh, we got Arceus as well. Thank you, Arceus. Thank you, Funkmaster Hex. I presume that Zenith lost connection. Sometimes the place that he's at just totally shits the bed. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate that. Excellent. So anyways, sometimes atrocities are necessary. Sometimes people have to do dirty work. And it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's just or moral. It just means that looks like Zenith is in the producer chair. I will also add you in. There we go, buddy. I didn't know if my connection got lost or if your connection.
Oh, that was me. That was
Ah,
me. Don't worry.
Did you guys get the rolling blackouts? Did they were we speaking too much truth to power, and so they decided to silence us for talking about the art of war?
Yeah, something like that. Computer
Something like
just couldn't handle it, apparently.
Okay. Better machines, yes. Man, I'm trying to figure out how to free myself from Windows because, boy, howdy, I tell you what, sometimes I am at war with Windows, and I do not like when they're like, hey, we're doing an update to your entire computer, and you don't get a choice if you get to participate or not. It's happening. It's happening, Ron Paul. Everybody do the thing. So sometimes I feel like I'm at war with Windows. So I totally understand the problems with the technology and things. But welcome back, broski. I basically just went on a long monologue about the same stuff as soon as I realized you weren't there anymore.
Hey, well done.
But yeah, atrocities need to happen. So I'm out of questions.
I got a question.
In my normal thing. I'm pulling it back up. Go ahead. What you got?
So we've covered another very famous, you might call it military thought book, but that would be Machiavelli's The Prince.
Yeah.
Do you think there are any things here that these two guys would really disagree on?
Oh, disagree on. Oh man, I thought you were gonna say agree. Man, I saw in a Reddit thread earlier that someone had said that Machiavelli's The Prince is about building, and then The Art of War is about sustaining. Something they would disagree on. I think that they're both interested in slight usage of subterfuge to keep it on the spy thing. Man, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. That's a good question. You got me stumped, bro. Do you have an enlightenment? Your smile tells me that you have an enlightening idea or a thought here.
So I think there's a lot of places where they're very similar. If anything, I would argue that Machiavelli maybe even takes The Art of War like one step further.
Okay.
Considering obviously the guy came like 2,000 years after the first one. But
that's true.
I think that Sun Tzu really focuses his like espionage and deception stuff with regarding enemies in particular, versus the thing that Machiavelli is like most criticized for is that he's not unwilling to turn tactics inwards, because the main focus of Machiavelli is like, you are the sovereign, you are the prince, you are the one trying to like secure your small empire and not be usurped or assassinated. Meanwhile, Sun Tzu very much takes the general approach, which is that he's focused on unifying the large force to accomplish the goal. Versus Machiavellian, like I just said, he's very like kind of like inwardly focused, which is like, how do I sustain myself?
Yeah.
And Machiavelli straight up does talk about the use of kind of subterfuge, deception, and even espionage, and sometimes even force against your own people if necessary. It's the really bad part of the prince, where he talks about the necessary necessities of cruelty, and that if you have to carry out cruelties, you should do it all at once and be swift and deep enough with it so that it actually matters. Because if you leave anything behind, then it's going to rot and fester. I think that you can definitely take that part of the prince and juxtapose it with Sun Tzu, who talks about, like, we don't have to kill the entire enemy, like capture their stuff, take some of their people, use them. Versus Machiavelli is very, very clear about, like, no, we don't take outside forces. No, we don't hire mercenaries.
And then you wipe them all out in one fell swoop, kind of thing. I think that though does align with Sun Tzu's you don't want to be at war for a long period of time. So Machiavelli and Sun Tzu, they agree on that principle of, like, hey, we don't want sustained war because everybody loses, and especially I lose in that scenario. So, like, wiping out your enemies in one fell swoop, I think that's a thing that they both agree on. And yeah, like Machiavelli in Italy was probably had a lot more proximity than Sun Tzu in China, where everything was a lot more spread out. So there's an abundance of space with Sun Tzu, where it's like, hey, I can make friends with people because I'm going to be far away from them later, so I can afford this. Whereas, like, if you're surrounded by your enemies in the city of Rome or Florence, what was it, Florence, where the Medicis were, and the other people that Machiavelli was writing about? If you're in, like, a small city, and Italy is not very big, right? Like, you can't just run away and hide on this like peninsula that you live on. So that's certainly worth thinking about. So I think that the severity of the consequence is much more real with Machiavellianism. Like, when you're a lot closer to the problem, you have to really, like, crush it. You can't just go around making friends or something. Especially if it's not effective. You have to, like, crush it, wipe it out, no mercenaries, all done do. I think there's probably something to be said for proximity there. Although I'm just kind of talking out of my ass here, sort of spitballing.
The proximity makes sense because, like, your worldview is shaped by your surroundings. So obviously different time periods, but also very different geographies. Like, Machiavelli was, like, from the Mediterranean. There's a ton of different little countries around there that have had their bickerings for a long time, versus China has, like, a few people that they've been at war with for a couple hundred years, and they're far enough apart. So when they come together, it's usually pretty dramatic. So that I think that definitely has some merit to it.
We got a question from more of a rhetorical question from Arceus. Could Machiavelli have read The Art of War, or would it not have been available in Italy at the time? I will say that Marco Polo, I'm pretty sure, I think Marco Polo was from Italy, and Marco Polo went to, like, the Mongolian steppes and all that stuff, and so he took a lot of Eastern culture and, like, liaisoned a lot of it back to the West. So I think I think it's certainly possible that Machiavelli did read The Art of War, or if not, he probably understood the principles from being so close to the Medicis all the time. But yeah,
good old
possible.
Shay GPT has given me a different answer. It's saying that based on the historical timings, it's kind of, like, logistically impossible. So Sun Tzu Art of War was written 5th century BC. It remained largely unknown outside of East Asia until the 18th century. The first known French translation of The Art of War appeared in 1772. So Machiavelli was late 1400s. So the answer is no.
14. Yeah. Okay. Well, shame on me. I was spitballing, but, frickin' made sense to me inside of my little campfire story mind. By the way, guys, reminder that nothing we talk about on this show is legal or financial or medical or whatever the heck advice. We're just a couple assholes on the internet, like, speaking our feelings. So if you're taking financial or whatever the heck advice from us, then Godspeed is all that I will say. Moonpilled Rational Optics wants to double down. Fast is more forgivable. Prolonged suffering festers for years. Yeah.
Sure. Definitely. I've got a few more. So I did the quick search about things that they might disagree on. So what was the famous quote from the first chapter? You started the show off? All war is...
all warfare is based on deception. Yeah.
There you go. Machiavelli, his stance is that deception in politics is acceptable. He argues it's tactical but not foundational. Versus Sun Tzu appears to say that, like, all warfare, that's a pretty encompassing statement there. So that's one of them. Another big one is that it's kind of the morality idea, which is that Sun Tzu definitely proposes the idea of like being a good leader and being virtuous so that the people below you are also virtuous. This allows you to have good order and discipline because you build trust. You also have like courage, and you have people that are willing to follow the orders and do that kind of stuff. Versus Machiavelli, it's definitely an amoral book and does not, if anything, Machiavelli does talk about virtues in The Prince, but he really only talks about them from like their use case or their practicability, from like appearing like you're a good person so that the populace trusts you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that it's important to appear and to also be. Go ahead.
The other one is the attitude towards fortune and fate. Sun Tzu emphasizes preparation, calculation, and adaptation. Victory is not luck, but the result of positioning and foresight. Machiavelli, on the other hand, believes that fortune governs about half of human affairs, and leaders must be bold and ruthless to master fate when opportunity or fortuna appears. So, I mean,
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Sun Tzu says that luck is not a thing. Everything comes down to preparation and strategy, versus Machiavelli is like, about half of this stuff is luck, and you just got to capitalize on it.
Well, I would say that luck is just the luck is the result of preparation. Like I would say that there is no such thing as true luck, like lady luck, like roll the dice. I would say that the more things that you prepare for, the more opportunities you have to open up luck into your life, and the more opportunities you seize and capitalize on, the more opportunities further like flow down. Like when you open one door, you get to see all the other doors that you can't open up, and it might be a bad door, it might be a good door, but if you're well trained to take care of a bad door, if the opportunity presents itself, then it's different than the person who just never opens a door to begin with or takes their time opening that first door. Like the more doors that you open, like the more opportunities you have for luck. So I think that luck is just the byproduct of preparedness and like good action taking. That's my own little philosophy on that.
I agree with you. I think that is, especially as humanity has progressed, it's kind of like grappled with the fact that it's not in control of everything. So Sun Tzu definitely is one of those folks where it's like nothing is luck, everything is preparedness, versus like you and I are here sitting here and being like, yes, preparation is important so that you can utilize luck. Versus Machiavelli, I would argue, is probably closer to Ord's side. He might be a little more daring, shall we say, because he's definitely one of those fortune favors the bold kind of things. So there you go. I guess that is if we had a disagreement with Sun Tzu, this is our disagreement with the ancient Chinese philosopher.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any more questions that you want to go to? Because I have a funny thought to sort of kind of tie
I'm
up
good
on.
over here. Hit me.
Get over there. Well, so I was thinking about the part of the book that we didn't really cover, which is like the terrain and the like the different types of things. And
How to
one of the
maneuver your
very
cavalry
important
effectively.
things, yeah, how to maneuver your cavalry. And I will say that one of the things that he talks about is very important is the high ground. And for those of you guys who might have watched Star Wars before or not, you can know that like the pivotal point upon which almost everything in the Star Wars, almost everything in the Star Wars series comes down to, has a lot to do with the high ground, and Obi-Wan having the high ground and Anakin not having the high ground. He's like, don't try it, Anakin. It's like, I'm more powerful than the high ground. You know, he succumbs to his emotions. He succumbs to being at a disadvantage and being not goaded into attack, because Obi-Wan's like, don't do it, bro. Come on, man. I've got the advantage. And then Anakin's like, haha. And Obi-Wan's like, chip, chop, chip. And then all of a sudden, Anakin's got one less arm and two less legs. And things are not looking so hot for our boy.
You beat me
So,
to it. I was going to say the high ground is apparently equivalent to 2 legs and 1 arm.
Yeah. One unit of high ground is 3 limbs, and you gotta figure Anakin already lost one of his hands,
Yep.
fighting good old Count Dooku earlier. So he's really only got half of an arm and a mechanical claw, and he slides down into the low ground, which is lava, and he catches on fire, and he has a really bad time. And so all this to say that like it's important to know thyself and to know the enemy and to also know the environment and to keep all of these things in mind as we go about going through the day and taking into consideration everything that's happening. Like, who are we at war with? Who are we in friendship with? Are we trying to impose our will on the counterpart, or are we trying to get the counterpart to get their goals accomplished? And are we working from their perspective? So if you guys find yourself out there in real life, and there's people that are constantly opposing you, or constantly nagging, or annoying you, or they're just not on your team, they're not listening to you, then they might be your unknown enemy, and you might have to trim them from your lives. They might be maliciously trying to hurt you, and you got to trim them from your lives. And God forbid they start some conflict with you and you can't run away, then you might have to engage in warfare with them, and you'd better understand all these things before it gets to that point. But honestly, like de-escalation or movement or distance, like those are some of the best things that you can do to avoid conflict. Any final thoughts on the book, Mr. Zenith, before we start asking final
We have
final
an
questions, rounding
excellent
out?
we have an excellent chat here from Moonpilled Rational Optics. He says,
Ooh.
if you have to add one good principle or tactic to the art of war, what would that be? I guess here's my analysis / critique of Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu absolutely crushes Age of Empires, but he sucks at World of Warcraft. Sun Tzu has written this book entirely from the standpoint of you are a single force going up against other forces. There is very little in this book that discusses actual like alliances or social networks, or like kind of the idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of stuff. You're not going to find any of that in the Art of War, really. He talks about, when he did the hierarchy of strategies, he does mention alliances there. But as far as alliances, it's not really in the book. And I think it comes down to the idea that he is the general, he is not the sovereign. He is not here to broker deals with other nations. He's here to lead his army. So if I had to add anything to the Art of War, it would be the appendix or the compendium of international relations or diplomacy, or how to effectively use your allies. And I understand this might be a bit of a recency bias for me, but one of the things I'm doing on the other book club is we read the Peloponnesian Wars and the Persian Wars. The Persian Wars comes first. It is all the different states of Greece being like, hey, we're kind of getting our asses kicked by the Persians. What if we all just work together? Because we're the same people, we have the same customs, we have the same like shared language, and we all worship the same gods. It seems like a pretty good basis for a culture, or dare I say a country, which was kind of unheard of at the time. And then immediately in the Peloponnesian Wars afterwards, it is they push out the Persians, and then the Spartans look at the Athenians and they're like, hey, you guys are taking hold of a lot of those little islands while you're pushing out the rest of the Persians there. What's that about? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We're definitely not going to turn on you guys. And they're like, well, we're not going to let you turn on us, because we're just going to go ahead and duke this out now while we can. And then so immediately in the span of like 50 years, you have the formation of a great alliance between the Greeks, and then you have the immediate downfall of them having a civil war. And then 10 years later, they get conquered by the predecessor to Alexander the Great. So yeah, I would argue that alliances are very important. And there's also the lesson to be learned from the Greeks there. But at the same time, I think that is outside of the realm of what Sun Tzu is talking about in this book.
If I had, that's a good way that you put it in the beginning, talking about the alliances is the job of the sovereign and the job of the general is war. It's like, yeah, I am the war machine. I am the car. My job is not to dig a hole in the ground with an excavator bucket. My job is to drive fast on the street. So like, go hire the heavy equipment operator if you need holes dug. That's good. I like that. The thing that I was thinking about is if you can out technology your adversary, then you can also, that's another stratagem to basically like beat them or make them irrelevant or not happening. So that's something, a consideration, and he might have touched on it a little bit. The other thing I wanted to talk about is going in a little bit further on the communications part. He did speak about the importance of drums and gongs and using banners rather than like yelling at people to get to do commands on the battlefield, because drums and gongs carry. Like you can hear that sound, the low rumble, and then the high clash, right? Those are sounds that carry over distance. The human voice does not do that. So
He also
if you're
talks
trying
about
to yell out,
flags.
yes, and flags too, like signals, like, so signal corps and sound corps, like those used to be like very, very important parts of military, like the drummer boys, very important. That's how you do commands, like there's different like beats of the drum for different pace counts. There's like, oh, it's charge time, da 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 da, like, oh, time to charge, run, rah, right? When everyone's on the same page, then you can get good order and like and like an effective machine. And when communication breaks down, when like all your drummers are dead and all your gongsmen are clanging their gongs at bad times, or your banner people fall, then it's like, oh, nobody knows what's going on, and then you start having chaos. And so I think that like a communications part in there, he kind of touches on it, and he does a decent job. But communication is pretty different now, and you can win a war by communicating better, faster, with better marketing than your adversary. So like it doesn't matter if like let's say China for whatever reason doesn't have communication, right? If the US just like floods them with paper pamphlets, and we give them all the propaganda, and we get all the Chinese people watching Fox News and CNN, and hating Democrats and liberals more so than everyone else, then like we can totally like conquer their people that way with communication channels, rather than like getting to kinetic wars and things. So I think that like just a little bit of a little bit more information on like the speed of communication and how that's so much more important nowadays. And also like talking about like, yeah, if you've got a 14-foot spear and your enemy has an 8-foot spear, then you win, because you can stab him at 13 feet and he has to get to 7 feet to try and stab you. So it's like you just annihilate all of them. Like the hoplite spearmen versus the not hoplite spearmen that just get skewered all the time. So that's what we
Will,
got.
you have a really good analysis on that one. I think the technology and communications. I think this kind of goes back to something you mentioned earlier in the stream and also in the green room, where you were like, that whole fighting with fire chapter is kind of cool, but it's like pretty useless. It's like,
Yeah.
I think the chapter, the fighting with fire chapter, you alluded to this as well. You can absolutely look at that as either like a very, very basic technology stance, or what you mentioned previously was that you could view fighting with fire, where he talks about like if you're fighting with fire, the time to attack your enemy is when the fire is at its highest or burning the most intensely.
Yeah.
And I think you made the illusion that instead of fire in today's day and age, you could think of that as communication or discommunication within an enemy force, which is that the time to strike is when they are most disjointed and most disorganized and not talking enough. But your technology point, I think, was actually spot on, which is that this book really does not talk about technology. And there's a great irony, because who was the great conqueror that came after Sun Tzu in that over in Asia?
Was it Genghis Khan?
Chronologically, no, but wins wise, yes. And what made Genghis Khan so good at what he did
is they had horseback. They were able to drive their horses with their feet and shoot with their hands. So they had better tech than the people that couldn't do that. So like,
yes. And the other thing they did was they mastered siege warfare, which is one of the things that this guy says, dear God, stay away from. Meanwhile, Genghis Khan figured out technology and he figured out sieging. So there you go. Those are the things that are not missing from, they are missing from Art of War. But overall, still, hey, we're not knocking this book.
Yeah,
there's a reason this is a classic.
Yeah. Man, I'm glad you brought that up about the fire questions, because I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I suppose that would be the technology chapter is the fire, and like that was the peak thing. Like if all you've got is rocks and sticks and the guy is rolling with like armored bulldozers, and it's like, we're wiped. So something for some food for thought there. And speaking of food for thought, we've got some folks thinking in the comments over here. We've been joined by Moondog, who says to Moonpill, the exponential utility and power of network effects in globally tech-linked society as one potential. So yeah, I suppose network effects, that would be a good thing to put into the Art of War and how to leverage network effects. I think that kind of ties into your story about allies and building things. And then he replies, as Art of the Spartan, teabagging is best done after the battle is over. So that's pretty good. Yep. And then one more from Moondog, and then Hex Glenn. We got humans synchronize physiologically. Heart and brainwaves can be coherent or discoherent, and psychologically, drum beats help set a rhythm. Ooh, yes.
Go.
That's pretty cool. If you beat the drum slowly, people probably calm down more than if you beat the drum fast. People get excited. I wonder if there's something about like that has to do with like blood pumping through the body. That's quite an interesting
It's a good
thing.
one.
Thank you, Moondog. And then also we're joined finally by Mr. Hexglen, who says Roundtable with a little wave. Good to see you, Hexglen. Welcome, welcome. DGen Roundtable aficionado right here. United they stand, divided they fall. Excellent, excellent points. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies in the audience. We love each and every single one of you. This has been
Y'all are great.
your fantastic DGen Roundtable Book Club. Zenith, before we go, where would you rate this book on a recommended read for the folks at home on their scale from 0 to 10,000 hours of excellence?
First and foremost, shout out to the chat. You guys were killing it tonight. Loved all the
Yeah.
interaction and good, very good questions. Actually, I dig it.
Oh yes.
On the 0 to 10,000 hours, may I suggest that this is around the 1,000 hour mark, maybe even
Ooh.
the 2,000 hour mark.
Really?
Well, I guess if what scale are we going off of? Like personal investment or just personal development?
Yes. Pick your. You can answer the question however you like, broski.
When it comes to investment, are there ways that you can use this to learn about like using the art of war for your own investing or financial literacy? Yes, for sure. I think it's going to be a little more advanced, maybe a little more abstract. You can find plenty of articles out there of people that are like, here are the 10 lessons from Sun Tzu about business or investing. And I found some of them and they're decent, but some of them are just like, they're really stretching it on some of them.
That's
Yeah, a
listicles,
little bit.
bro.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But outside of that, from the personal development standpoint, I would rate it a little bit lower, but not much, which is that I think that there's a lot you got to get to before you get to this. This is good. It's a classic for a reason, but it's very specific knowledge. And again, it's kind of what I was mentioned a few times now, which is that if you try to apply this kind of these tactics in areas that don't require them, then you can get to the point where you're starting to use the art of war on your friends instead of your enemies, and now they're just pissed off at you. So that's what I'll say about that one.
I'm gonna do the milk toast fence sitter answer, and I'm gonna say that I strongly agree and strongly disagree with you because my initial reaction was to be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro? People need to read this right in the beginning." But you know, you made some pretty good points there. And so what I'll say is that people should start off with this knowledge. Like I think that people should read this in the beginning, around 10 to 100 hours, somewhere in there. They should read this book knowing that they don't understand it and just like thinking about and go
Just
through the
get
process
exposure.
of exercising exposure. Yes. Yeah, right. It's like, you know, the first time you drive a car is not the first time you've been in a car. So, or ideally, right? You go through
Hopefully.
courses, you do some stuff. So I would say that people should get some exposure to this, and you can pick up on some really good lessons in this book, some really good like core considerations from it early on in your journey. So I would recommend people, you know, you can start this off like be the first book that you ever read is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And odds are you're probably not going to be doing war, but as you grow older, I think that you should reread this book a couple times, again around the 200, the 500, and then the 1,000 hour mark, and be like, oh, these are some of the other things, like the hidden juicy things that were inside this story. Like, you know, you watch The Lion King as a kid, and you're like, oh wow, this is a cool story. I like lions, right? And then you get older, and you're like, oh shit, this is Hamlet. This is the story of Hamlet, right? It's Hamlet in Africa. And like you get to see all the like you can re-engage with the concepts and get a little bit more out of it when you're older. Not to say that, you know, Sun Tzu is the Lion King, but like, you know, I think that sort of that principle is important. So people should read this after you have a lot of experience and also before you have a lot of experience, and then perhaps a couple times in the meantime. And you know, it's 100 hours and it's basically just a whole bunch of like nice little quotes. So it's not a difficult read. It's fun for the whole family. And I think that this is definitely an empowering book that gives people more tools than it takes away. So those
I
are my
like your
thoughts.
analysis. It makes sense. Again, the audiobook is 1 hour long, so it doesn't take that much time, and you're in wherever it is in those hours. But
Low cost, high return.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. At the same time, though, like I'm definitely still putting this before The Prince.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
You should not be reading Machiavelli until like 2,000 hours, maybe 5,000.
2,000 plus, baby.
Yep. I don't think that there's any books that we recommend to be read. I don't think we've had any books that's like, yeah, you should wait till you're expert before you read this book. I don't think we've got to that point yet.
I
Maybe,
think I said that for Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. I think I called it a 3,000 to 5,000 hour book.
You know, that's pretty fair. But yeah, I would put Machiavelli's like The Prince at least at 1,000 or 2,000 hours now. I might
sounds
not have thought
reasonable.
that when we did it, but you know, that's where I sit right now.
There's other more critical information that you can get first. That's the point.
Yep. I think 48 Laws of Power is going to be next on my recommend things. But speaking of things that we recommend, what book have you thought about? Oh yeah, you already have a book that we're going to be doing for next week book club. So let's just go ahead and do a smooth transition right on into The Prince of Inequality: How Today's Divide.
The Price of Inequality by Joseph Stiglitz. So this is where Uncle Z starts the Devil's Advocate arc. The next few books that I'm going to be proposing, these are books that I know I'm fundamentally not going to agree with, but these are counterpoints to a lot of the stuff that we have covered. So with The Price of Inequality is, the goal is, it's the subtitle is How Today's Divided Society Endangers Our Future. But what it really talks about is more of a counter to free market economics, or more of a critique of how we do free market economics now. This is probably going to be covering a lot of like overregulation, like corrupt corporatism, and favoring by governments who are actually picking winners and losers in the market. So there's your disclaimer. I think this is important because I want to understand the argument, so that way it either makes my argument better or I learn something. I want to be able to understand their argument, make it the best that they possibly could, and then find a way to defeat it. That is the ultimate goal here. So there you go. We're going to be covering Price of Inequality.
Are you suggesting that you know thyself and also know the enemy, Zenith? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, there it is.
Hey, at some point, I've thought about suggesting, spicy books on book club before, and I don't know if we're quite at that point yet. But at some point in the like existence of book club, I think it would be good to do some of like the more crazier books out there. You know, like some of the banned books or some of the other things, and give it a go. I won't say any names as of now, so as to keep us off of off of the radar. But add War and Peace to the list. There you go, Moonpill. That's a long book, as I understand it. But so this is what we're going to be doing for next week's book club. Did you have anything for any of the ones after that?
Yes, I do have a short list. Definitely want to get some input from you guys if you're interested. So I had 5 that I picked out. Number 1 was called End This Depression Now. It is an argument against Keynesian economics and free market pushback. Price of Inequality. This one is about unregulated markets. America's Bank, The Epic Struggle to Create the Federal Reserve, is a pro-Federal Reserve book. Exorbitant Privilege. I have these all in the book recommendations as well.
Oh, you
Exorbitant
do?
Privilege.
I was putting them in there. That's awesome.
That is The Rise and Fall of the Dollar. That is a pro-fiat currency book. And then the last one we have is In Defense of Public Debt, which again is fiat USD and also government debt spending. So that's my short list of the Devil's Advocate arc that I might be going down here. So if you're interested, let me know. If you don't want to read this stuff, let me know, and we can also pick something else.
But yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and reply to each of those things, because it's all inside of one post. So what I like to do in the book recommends is when we cover it is I delete it from the recommends thing, like kind of sort of trim the unnecessary thing. So I might do that later. But
makes sense.
Those are some good ones. I like it. And honestly, like the most feedback that we get from the audience is, again, shout out to Moonpilled Rational Optics, who's the one interacting the most over in the
what a guy
over in the book club recommendations area. So thank you, sir. We appreciate that very much. The next one that I'm going to be recommending, or that I'm going to be covering, is the 48 Laws of Power, and we're going to do a different format for the way that stream goes. We're going to do 1 minute, or excuse me, not 1 minute, 2 minutes for each law. We're just going to like rapid fire through them all. So it's it's going to be interesting, bro. It's going to be interesting.
Right, clip farming it is.
Yeah, it's going to be clip farming, but I think that it's also going to force us to like not go on these crazy monologues and have to have like condensed thoughts on things. So it's a really good book, super long, and lots of stories in it that really elaborate on the ideas. But Robert Greene did a good job when he put that book together. So that's what you guys got. We've got 2 books in the pipeline. We've got this one that Zenith was just talking about, The Price of Inequality, and then after that for Book Club 75, it's going to be The 48 Laws of Power in a different DGen Roundtable Book Club format. So, Z, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
Folks, you can find me over on X and Instagram at zenithdi. And outside of that, you can catch me and Will and the rest of the gang here at DGen Roundtable, where we stream Sunday, Wednesday, Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we have a very special episode coming up this Sunday. It is actually our 100th episode, although last week was episode 100, but it was technically 99.5 because we wanted to do something special for the next one. So that's what we got going on. We got a Whiskey Wednesday coming up. Might be able to either turn it into a Warhammer stream or a special guest stream if we can lock some folks down. But outside of that, that's what we got. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you guys next time. Will, what you got? Where can folks find you? What do you got going on?
You guys can find me at will.pls.fy. That's where all my socials are linked as far as what we've got going on in the near future. Immediately following this stream ending, I'm going over to the Discourse Syndicate, and I'm going to be hosting the Effin' Hangout, which I thought that I had a link ready and pulled up for that, but it appears that I do not. So that's pretty cool. Control-Shift-T. Oh no, I do have it pulled up. I have a DGen Roundtable. I have a DGen Roundtable icon, and so I thought it was this. So if you guys want to go check me out and listen to my ranting over on the Effin' Hangout, and whoever else decides to join, then that would be the place to do it. Is over here at youtube.com. And that's the link. I'm not going to read off those letters and numbers. But that's what we've got going on. Like Zenith said, this is episode 100. And, bro, I'm ready to commit to a Warhammer stream. If you've got anyone in the pipeline for Wednesday, I'm down to do that too. But I would love to talk Warhammer. I think that'd be really fucking fun. And I know that Josh, Mr. Slide 180, was saying he would like to hear it as well. So I think it's pretty cool, pretty nifty. And I'm ready to rock and roll. Other than that, that's what we got going on. You guys can find us. And also remember to join the DGen Roundtable Telegram at t.me/DRT. Join now. I will copy that and paste it into the chats so that you guys have a linkety link to click on, or you can scan that QR code that's right above Zenith's head. That's how you come see us. That's how you interact with us more. Share the memes, play the video games, do all that stuff, be a part of the community. We like to ban spammers and hang out and have fun. So that being said, time to end the show. And let's see, I had a quote from The Art of War that I wanted to read, and I lost it. Of course I did. Go fucking figure. I will just say that
hey, I got a good Sun Tzu quote here for you.
Oh, you do? Always abandon your most strategic airbase right before an evacuation. Yes, that's what Sun Tzu said. That's what Sun Tzu said. He whispered that into Papa Daddy Joe Biden's ear. right before we pulled out of Afghanistan and gave all of our goodies to what we used to call bad guys. Turns out maybe they're not bad guys. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, that's the
classic, if you will.
Yeah, an old classic. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you spending it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mr. Producer is me. It's time for me to get my trigger finger ready because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.